Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm really excited about this month's setup. Can't believe it's May already, but you know what? Let's jump into it. This month we are going with some scrapbooking. I haven't done this in a little bit and I missed it and I was excited to try it for this month. So that's what we're doing. A few weeks ago I got an amazing package from the washi tape shop. They were really kind to me and they sent me some goodies for me to try out. I actually unboxed them in my previous video if you guys wanted to check them out. There are some amazing products on there. And one of them, which is the washi tape that I'm using for this video. It is so gorgeous. It's this really colorful, beautiful washi tape right here. It's really wide. It's essentially like one continuous, it's normal washi basically. They have some that are stickers. They're like a roll of washi and they are individual stickers. This one isn't, but I wanted to use them as stickers, so I was insane and I cut them off individually. I went for like, I think it was two of like, let's call them loops. Basically, you know, the washi, it has a pattern. At one point it starts repeating itself. The ones from the washi tape shop, at least these ones, it takes a while for them to repeat themselves. So I went with basically two repeats of the pattern, cut them off, and I cut them off individually. Yes, I'm insane, I'm aware. But I really had a vision for this setup, and I really wanted to use this washi in this manner. So you know what? I took my time. I grabbed a pair of scissors, I grabbed the washi, and I just went to town and I cut them all off. And yeah, I'm going with a bit of a Dutch door for the setup. I just thought it would give this a little bit of a nicer like texture in a way. It would add a little bit of a perspective and just another feel to the finished cover. So that's what we're doing. You will notice that I'm actually not gluing these as stickers. They are technically stickers because it is washi tape. It has a detachable back that I could do. I could do that. I could just stick them on. I decided against that because even though they are quite opaque for washi tape, there is colored paper behind them. And I did a bit of a test run on a separate notebook that I have, and just the blue on the back altered the colors of the butterflies a bit too much for my liking. I just like them a lot better if I just glue them on, because that way they have the backing of the white washi paper and that allows them for them to maintain their bright colors. And so I decided to do that. It did add a bit of work on my end, but I was actually really happy to do it because the outcome was absolutely gorgeous. And so that's what I did. And here I am cutting them like the I don't know what to call this. Let's call this a Dutch door. It's just gonna be a Dutch door. I'm cutting out the outline of all of the butterflies and the bits of it's not cut paper, it's torn paper. I decided to tear it instead of cutting it. I like the texture a bit more, and I decided to make this Dutch door. I don't have any other way of calling it. I feel like it's not necessarily a Dutch door. I feel like there's probably another term for it. I don't know what that term is. And so yeah, I also wanted to have some of the titles, well, not some of the titles, basically all of the main titles be in stamping with my letters stamps. I decided to actually, for the sake of the length of footage, to stamp all of the titles off camera and have all of the torn pieces of paper off camera as well, just because I knew, knowing myself, I knew that I would spend a lot of time of filming just choosing all of the placements for each of the stickers and for the placement of like the blue, pink, and music sheet paper, so I didn't want to add on to the length of filming as it already was. And you know what, it's not that entertaining to watch me just tear pieces of paper and stamp letters on them, so I decided, you know what, we can skip that for the sake of me filming and for the sake of you guys watching. It would add a considerable amount of time to the length of the video, and I decided, you know what, let's just do this off camera. Moving on to my monthly log. we are maintaining the tabs for this month. I really like them for past month, and so we are doing them again. For my monthly log, I decided to basically do the same thing, just alter it a little bit. I wanted the boxes to be a bit smaller. They were quite big last month, a bit too big, and I was like, you know what, I could use more space to do other things. So let's do that. I had a little TBR box because I want to have like a list of books to actually read this month. My TBRs are always all over the place. My sense of a TBR is I feel like reading this book, so I will read this book. But I feel like I could use a list also because I have the idea. I hope that I'll do a readathon this month. I've been planning on doing one for years. I've been wanting to do one for the longest time, and I never did. If you don't know, a readathon, they're usually like 24 hours, at least like on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. People just read for 24 hours. They read as much as possible for 24 hours. Different people will do it differently. Some people just literally spend 24 hours straight reading. They don't go to bed, they just read throughout 24 hours. Other people will set a timer. They will take breaks to, you know, they're already reading. They'll take breaks to sleep, to eat, maybe take a walk if they need to, and they just come back and reset the timer when they need it, and they read for 24 hours, but they take normal person breaks in between. Other people sleep through the readathon and they still count those hours. Different people do different systems. I'm still figuring out what I will do. I think I will go with the timer just because I don't think I have it in me to pull all-nighters anymore. But yeah, I want to see if I do a readathon. It's just really out of curiosity. I want to see what that would look like for me, if I would actually be able to read a lot during a readathon. I'm intrigued. And so yeah, I'm setting myself up for success if I actually achieve to do a readathon by having a little TBR and a little reading journal. And then I actually have another page dedicated to a readathon, but more on that later. And I usually have either goals or tasks for my monthly log. For this month, I decided to go with both. Just so that I have everything on the monthly log page. It's right front and center for me. It's right next to my calendar, and so that'll be a little bit easier for me. As for my scrapbooking system for this month, the blue and pink paper, they're just from this pack of colored sheets of paper that I got from Amazon, and then the music sheet paper. This is one that's a little bit more complicated. This is paper, normal white sheets of printing paper that I took and I stained them with tea and coffee. I think this was like 2 years ago that I did this. I basically, I did so much paper at the time that I still have them. I think this one was stained with coffee. Coffee stains the paper a little bit darker, tea stains it a little bit lighter, and it also depends on the amount that you use. If you want more information on that, you can just search up on YouTube coffee stained paper. There are a lot of tutorials on that. That's how I found out how to do this. And then what I did was, with some of the sheets of paper that were the cleanest, straightest, without any tears, because the paper can damage a little bit when you do that process, I decided to try and put it through my printer and print things on it. So for some sheets of paper, I went with like text, you know, like kind of Times New Roman text where I could have it look like it had been printed a long time ago. For some, I did the sheets of music, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I thought it was so beautiful and whimsical that I printed out a lot of them, and I've been using it since. What I did with that, if you Google like sheets of music, you can find some sheets of music. This one is actually from Claire de Lune. Why? It was just the first one that I found. But yeah, I just put that on like Word. I edited the color a little bit. I wanted it to be a little bit more sepia toned than black. and then I put that through my printer. If you're going to be doing this, please note the paper sheet needs to have absolutely like no tears, and it needs to be as least wrinkly as possible, because I've done this with sheets of paper that didn't fit that criteria, and the result was that it jammed my printer because the little tears on the paper will snag in the printer. If it's a bit too wrinkly, it'll snag in the printer, and so it's not tragic. It's not going to damage your printer. I don't think so. It hasn't done that for me, but it is inconvenient, and it's a waste of the paper and of the ink because the printer is still printing even though the paper is snagged. But anyways, if you want to attempt to do this at home, just keep that in mind, okay? But yeah, on with my building discipline spread. I really enjoyed this for last month, and I decided to do it again but tweak it a little bit. I put in a calendar for my workout log. I thought that it was nicer to just have a visual representation of it. It's just easier for me to visualize what I'm doing. I actually went with a little bit of a habit tracker again instead of my perfect day concept that I did last month. That one didn't really work out because I found myself just saying, well, it's not a perfect day every single day, and then I just didn't do anything, and that doesn't really match up with the concept of building discipline, you know. And then just some projects, some things that I want to work on for this month, which is candles, writing, and drawing. Candles, I enjoy making candles, and I invested in some fragrances this month, so I want to make some candles. Writing, I've been playing around with writing a little bit. I think it's a really interesting skill, and I'd like to maybe kind of give it a go as a little creative outlet situation. And drawing, well, bullet journaling and other things I want to improve a little bit as well. And then we have some house chores there under my habits, because it is another form of a habit. It's just not towards me directly. It's a bit more towards the house and towards me indirectly, of course, but it's something that I find I can very easily lose track of if I just don't write it down when I last did something, you know, especially with like changing bed sheets. I forget about that a lot. Not in the sense that I forget to do it, but I just forget about when it was the last time that I did it, you know? And so yeah, moving on. With the tabs, if you want to do tabs in your bullet journal, I've said this last month, I will say it again, plan your tabs. Make sure that you have the right amount of tabs that you want. Make sure that the spacing between them will make them be in the right place when you cut the paper, because once you cut the paper, there's no real going back from that point onwards. So just make sure that you are making them where they need to be made, okay? Going on with this setup, this one is for a content planner. I did this I did this last month, but it wasn't really the same thing, because I have since learned a little bit more about my social media and the things that I need to do. So we still have the little calendar for the part of where I'm going to basically be working on the social media. So the concept is, the big calendar is for when I'm actively working on producing content for social media, which is why there's no Sunday on there. I've made it kind of my goal to try my hardest to not work on actively producing content on Sundays. I think that everyone needs at least one day of the week for some rest, and so that's what I'm doing. And then my little posting schedule calendar is for me to keep in mind when I should post on what, because there isn't just like YouTube video. There is YouTube video, and there's like the short format videos, which go on they go on Shorts, Reels, and TikTok. And then there's picture posts for Instagram. And since I can actually post those on TikTok as well, I'm gonna be reusing content. Basically, the short format videos can go on all three of those platforms that support them. The photo content can go on both of those platforms that support them, and the videos can only go on here, at least that I know of. I don't think there's any other platform, but I'm just working with YouTube for that. And so there are different patterns of timing that are good for each of that kind of content and for each different platform. And so if I can plan myself out beforehand, I can make the best effort possible to hit the nail in the head with all of those social media and just be smart about my content. Basically, the idea for this is for me to work smarter, not harder. So yeah, I'm gonna be color coding these schedules for the posting of everything, and that way I will have an easier time just planning ahead, making the content, setting it up in drafts, knowing when it needs to go up and where. So yeah, and then I have a little box at the bottom left there for keeping track of like subscriber, follower numbers, or like interactions, or things that I feel like are important for that timestamp of the month, and a little box for content ideas. Most of the times I write down my content ideas on my phone, like on my notes app or something, but in the case that I have like an idea for something that's maybe a little further down the road and that I want to physically write it down somewhere, or just something that I want to write down in my content planner just for me to start right away with planning where I'm going to be working on that or when I'm going to be posting that, I feel like it would be good to have that page there for that purpose. Also, about the tabs, keep in mind when you are doing tabs, you have to like color them in on the back as well, which is what you will see me doing a lot throughout this video. Moving along with my mental well-being spread, this one is back. I missed it, and I thought about doing a physical well-being spread again, but I kind of built that in with my building discipline spread, and so yeah, it's kind of here, it's just not called a physical well-being spread, you know? This little table, it's not titled. I forgot to add space in for the title of it, but I was like, you know what, it kind of looks very straightforward, so I feel like it doesn't need it. This is for my hours of sleep, and right next to it, right attached to it, is my mood tracker for the month. I have been finding it more and more clear that my mood is directly affected by the amount of hours that I sleep, above all else, regardless of whether I ate a lot of sugar that day, regardless of whether I ingested caffeine, regardless of whatever else happens in my day. I find that it has been my hours of sleep that have been the deal breaker for my mood. And so I want to keep track of this so that I can stop being delulu over the fact that I am sleeping enough, because I know that I'm not sleeping enough, but you know, delusion will do that for you. And so yeah, then we have a little gratitude box on the right there, and a little self-care bingo. I really love self-care bingos. I think that they're a really fun way to remind yourself that you should do something for yourself every now and then, and sometimes doing something for yourself has different formats, different shapes, different looks to it. It will be different for everyone. You will notice that I have on there, buy some books. For me, buying some books is straight up therapy. And like things like going on a walk, putting on a face mask, drinking some calming tea. These are things that for me feel like self-care. If for you self-care is like going on a kickboxing class and beating the crap out of something, maybe do that, okay? Just write down things that will make you feel like you're taking good care of yourself and that will fulfill the needs that you have at that moment. Yeah, just when it comes to like self-care spreads or prompts to take care of yourself or make yourself feel better, improve your mental well-being, whatever the case is, just do what feels natural to you and what would work for you. If you don't know what would work for you, then you really need to experiment and try a bunch of different things, and at one point you will start to notice what works and what doesn't, and you can go on from there. But don't feel like just because these are the things that I write down on my list, or because someone else writes down other things, that those are the things that you need to do to take care of yourself, you know? Yeah. Going on for the spread, I know that the spread is probably not going to fill the needs of many people, or maybe none at all besides myself. This is my Project Urban Garden spread, why did I do this? For the very simple fact that when I was doing my bullet journal, I just copied the amount of tabs that I had last month. And for this month, I didn't need as many tabs because I switched my weekly system from 1 week per 2 pages to 1 week every page. So I had too many tabs. And I was staring at these 2 blank pages, not knowing what to do with them. And I was like, you know what? I think I know what to put in here. I am working on trying to have a little urban garden going on situation in my balcony. I started seedlings like last week, I think. Yeah, last week. And I'm going to be planting some more. And I was like, you know what? I should have some place to write down what is going on, some like observations on plants. So basically I have one little box for each of the plants that I'm trying to grow, and then I have 2 little extra because I might end up buying more seeds. I know myself. So I'm giving myself a little wiggle room to potentially, possibly, maybe buy more seeds of different plants and plant those as well. But essentially, there are different columns on there. You have just the plant name, the life cycle, the date, germination, and observations. Life cycle because there are different plants that will have literally a different life cycle. There are plants that come back every year, meaning that you plant them and the plant will give its fruit, it will give its produce, it'll dwindle down a little bit, but it will still produce things next year. There are plants that are just for that season. They'll grow, they'll have their fruits, and they will die down, and you have to plant them again the following year. So this is just for me to know if a plant dying is normal or not, because I'm not really familiar with this kind of things. I didn't really grow up around like crops or anything, so I don't really know this. Very much a city gal, so I want to get used to this kind of stuff. And so I felt like this was actually a good way for me to learn a little bit more about plants. The date when things were planted, because that's important for me to know how long something has been germinating for, or when I planted it. What not germination, for me to keep track of whether it actually germinated or not. Sorry if you heard some noise in the background. Some of my neighbors are going up the stairs and making a lot of noise. Basically, then you have the little observations one. Essentially, I planted some seedlings for each plant. I didn't just plant one. Why? Because you might not have 100% germination success with the things that you plant. And for example, right now my dill is looking very leggy. I put it outside instead of like with the growing lights because I feel like that would work a little bit better. Things like that. Different things can happen when you're growing plants, and I just want to keep tabs on what is happening. And yeah, that was that on my little urban garden adventure. Maybe some of you guys are trying to do the same thing and that'll be useful. If not, well, maybe just enjoyed me talking about plants. Moving on with my brain dump spread. I haven't had one of these in a while, and like I said, I had extra tabs to fill. So I decided to bring back a brain dump because it is actually very useful every now and then to just write down ideas or what have you. Sometimes it's just nice to have a place to write. And going on with my weeklies, like I said, I went with a week for 2 pages to just 1 week in every page. I felt like I didn't really need that much space because I've been very into having my weekly and then also making a daily spread on a different notebook for the days that I have a lot of things to do, or just writing down like my to-do list on a notebook, not a notebook. A memo pad, that's what they're called. And so I decided I didn't really need that much space on each of the weeklies, and so I just decided to simplify it a little bit. On the weeklies, I'm actually not going with the scrapbooking situation. I'm just gluing on the butterfly stickers. I wanted to try out really minimal weeklies. I find that I have a hard time keeping up with my weeklies because I usually feel a bit clustered with a lot of stuff if I just go with my normal theme. So I was like, you know what, let's simplify it. Maybe that'll work a little bit better for me. And I really like how clean and minimal it looks, so I might do this a little bit more in the future. We shall see. But yeah, I really like the minimal look. I skipped the weeks for week 20 and 21, just for the simple fact that they're the same for, you know, the setup. So you will see them in a final flip through, but you won't see me making them on this footage. Just gluing down some of the butterflies. Here I think that these were glued on as stickers. Yes, they were. I kind of forget because most of them I glued on, but some I know that I sticked on. Because since with these ones, since I'm not scrapbooking and there's no, you know, blue paper behind them to alter the colors, I thought that they still looked really nice just glued on. So that's what I did. Going on with week 22, which will be the last week for the month of May. It's hard to believe that we're already going to be very near the middle of the year. Like, I feel like the year started yesterday, you know? It's really odd how time moves and like our perception of time. But anyways, as you can see on the right there, there's a page for readathon. Why is it there? Because I want to put pressure on myself to actually do a readathon. I don't have a set date for me to do this. I haven't decided on a day because I need to go see how my life goes. I need to plan for having the time to read that much. I need to plan around like what I will do with like house chores and stuff so that I can focus on reading. But I really want to do it. I've been postponing this for long enough now. I want to do it, and so by putting a little page on my bullet journal saying readathon and posting it on the internet that I want to do it, I feel like I'm putting pressure on myself to actually finally do the thing, you know? So yeah, I'm basically just bullying myself into doing a readathon. And if you can hear a little bell, it's my cat. She's jumped on the couch to be near me. But yeah, if I do a readathon, I will probably record it and post it on here. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing me read a bunch of books in 24 hours. I feel like that would be entertaining. At least I like watching videos on readathons. And then going in with my journaling spread, very simple, like the readathon one. I love the look of just a little title with a line down and across, and then just butterflies. I love that. Moving on to the final flip through. I love how this turned out. I feel like I say that every time, but I really love how this turned out. I ended up I ended up gluing the little Dutch door a little bit to the other page just because with the pressure of the paper it was lifting way too much, and so it kind of looks really cool now. I really like how this turned out. I feel like even though like the little music sheet paper isn't such an obvious choice with this butterfly design, I feel like it turned out so nice. It makes me feel very peaceful to look at it. It looks like so pastel and so pretty, and I don't know, I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did. I really loved making this. Let me know if you prefer scrapbooking themes or drawn themes, because I like both, but I don't know which ones you guys prefer, so just let me down in the comments, and that way I will know that you made it this far into the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely month of May. Bye!